So we're gonna do seed stratification.
Yeah.
And seed stratification, I call it fold stratification. Is when, like mostly perennial plants, when they drop their seed, they don't want them to grow right away. Because it's winter and there's a drought, and so they want them to come up in the spring. So in order to do that, they have to go through a cold process. And sometimes you can stimulate that by putting your seeds in a refrigerator or something. But another way is with the jug. And this is what this is about. Putting your plants in a jug and putting them on your porch and leaving it there. And then with the seeds in it and dirt, and then it'll come up in the spring, in April.
So the milk jug acts as a greenhouse.
Yeah, this is a greenhouse one. Yeah, that's right. All right, so the first thing you want to do is drill some holes in. So. Yeah, that's pretty good. And then, want to take the top off, throw that away.
Why do you want to take the top off?
Because you want the water to get in.
Okay.
And it's because the greenhouse, you don't want to go out there and water it all the time. If there's winter weather, it'll water itself.
Will it? Okay.
There's water will come in. So then the next thing you want to do is, we got these handy dandy little measuring sticks. And it's like a 6-inch ruler. So I marked off here 3-inch and 4-inch. So you just want to go a little bit. And mark them off. We got a magic marker.
I'm gonna get some paper towels.
Okay, I got paper towels.
Okay.
Okay, so then you just mark here on the corners. 4-inch or 3-inch and then 4-inch. They don't have to be exact, just give them something to go by. Then what we want to do is cut this in two, and we cut it by right on this line here. Now you can mark it all the way, which is easy to do if you just put your eye on this where you're gonna go, and your hand will go right to it and do a straight line every time. Well, kind of straight.
You haven't seen me do it yet.
But it does work.
It does work. If you just keep your eye on that spot where you're going, instead of watching where your pin is, your arm will go right in a straight line.
Feel like that's something we should provide for our art programs as well.
Yeah. Well, I used to teach sketching.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, industrial sketching. So right in here, and this is where the handle is, you don't want to cut that. So we'll mark a little mark on it like that. So you know you don't want to cut there. And then you just cut this. Yeah. And then you get a little jug. You put these up like that. Then you want to take some paper towels. And I use about 3 or 4. And put them in the bottom. So when you put your dirt in, it doesn't come up. Accidentally in the filter.
Keeps it from filtering out the bottom.
Let me see, where's my little shovel? The shovel's in here. This is just potting soil. Good medium. And first, I got 3-inch line and then a 4-inch line, 3-inch line. That's where you want to fill it up to.
Okay.
just the general guideline.
You don't want to use garden soil for this project.
Okay, why not garden soil?
You don't want to use garden soil to start seeds because you're bringing in other seeds.
Gotcha.
Maybe weeds, maybe organisms that will hamper the germination process.
So we have some seeds?
Yes, what would you like?
Oh,
Tomatoes?
tomatoes are good.
Let's do these.
Now, my directions say you shouldn't plant them any deeper than they are wide,
Correct.
so.
And you always want to label.
Oh, yes, I forgot to do that. Let me put that tomatoes in there. So those are so easy tomatoes.
These are tricolored cherry.
Oh, yeah, okay, so you wanna write it on the bottom. Cause when they mature, then you'll cut off the top and, or open it up and you won't remember what you got in here.
This is very important that you label.
Yeah.
Because I promise you, you will forget. So when I planted this, I wrote down
Mhm.
when I started. So I wrote that down when I transplanted it.
This is the place where I'm always a little,
Lax.
yeah, not as good. I got an app for my phone that identifies leaves, and that helps me. What was that I planted? Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I got it on there a couple times. And then we take the seeds.
And you said you don't want to plant them any deeper than they are wide.
Yes, well, these are pretty small,
They are pretty small.
so.
I always just kind of like pop them down with a pinky.
Yeah,
Does that compress it too much or?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
Just throw some little dirt on the top.
And now this process is good for any type of seed that you want to come up in the spring or?
It will work on anything. You
Okay.
could plant tomatoes in it and put it outside
Mhm.
in the winter, because you know that you've always had tomatoes
Mhm.
pop up on their own.
Mhm.
But typically you are using a seed that needs a cold stratification like a coneflower.
Mhm.
They definitely need a cold period
Yeah,
before they will germinate.
okay.
So now that we got that, what I usually do is, now. We gotta put some water on it. But what I usually do is I take it out back and make sure it's soaked.
Yeah.
The water's coming out the bottom and then you're all right. So, but we're here.
Yeah, in the library soaking things is not usually
Yeah.
turn
you
out
want
super well.
You don't piss all over your-
We're gonna be respectful of the library.
So you just get them wet there. That's pretty good. That won't leak on the floor, but the seeds are all. Okay, then we take this fruit bag.
I'll hold it for you while you take.
Right, here's my tape. That's it, good?
Looks good.
And so you're basically just taping it shut where you cut it.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and leave your top off,
Okay.
it's ready to go. Just
Awesome.
throw it on your porch and forget about it.
So, I mean, if I were to grab something from our seed library here, this would be a good way of starting seeds if you don't have something in your house.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay,
Yes.
excellent.
And you'll notice pretty quickly, the humidity will build up in here.
Mhm.
And you want it to have humidity
Mhm.
all the time that it's outside.
Okay,
If it doesn't, you'll take that bottle that
the mist
Joel
there
just-
or?
yes, and you'll just mist right through
Okay.
there.
And that's what I was wondering about with the keeping the lid off, whether you would, by keeping the lid on, you would keep sort of that humidity in there.
Well, but it needs the cold air
Okay,
and it also needs humidity, so it's okay for it to,
Oh.
get that cold.
excellent.
So,
Yeah, and water will develop on the outside because it's so humid.
Oh, sure.
So, but if it's not, then you can go in there and squirt it up.
That's great, because I mean, I know like many people, I don't have a good place of starting seeds in the house. And if I tried, I have cats who will also participate,
Yeah,
so. I've always been looking for a way to start stuff outside, so that's awesome.
yeah, we got 2 cats too, so
Yeah.
it doesn't work.
Yeah, no,
Cats.
they enjoy the dirt
Yeah,
as much as we do.
yeah.
and they like to, munch on different.
Yes,
Young plants.
yes,
That's pretty good.
thank you. I will just move, are you ready for your, that's the wrong way, there we go. I move in the camera with my phone. So we'll move.
So what I wanted to do, let's try something different here.
Okay.
Shall we try, broccoli?
Ooh,
So what I'm gonna do is show you how to use these starter kits. And then we'll talk about the process. So I didn't bring a little sheet of paper, but we'll mark this down. Wait.
Yeah.
Here it is. Broccoli and the date. And what I do for these, after you take your starter kits and you wet them to get the pellets to puff up and ready to accept, then I put 2 seeds in each one, which is my big hands, it's sometimes hard to do. And I do kind of what Joel did, where I just kind of tap it down.
Mhm.
And I put it in the top so that it is in there. Drop that one.
that's okay, sometimes they still come up.
Yes, they do. Yes, they absolutely do. I can tell you that's for sure true.
Some of these seeds, you plant them and they don't come up. Wait a year.
Yeah.
They might
and then-
come up next
yeah.
year.
And we do have a longevity chart
Mhm,
that tells you how good seeds will last.
mhm. Yeah, you gave that to me last year when we were evaluating our seed production, our seed garden. Or
Yeah, I
our
was
seed library.
kind of surprised by that, because I just thought, yeah, if they're not done the first year, forget it, throw them out. But
Yeah.
they last 3 or 4 or 5 years.
Mhm.
So then you just take a cling wrap or a saran wrap and you put it over the top. You don't have to tape it down. Usually it will start to adhere. I do tape this to it and I put the date on it. You've got March 28th. So this can be your test kit.
And you were telling me that this works better with a heating pad underneath to keep it warm?
I have used a heating pad for the first time this year, and it changed my whole attitude about it. A heating
Okay.
pad is not that big of an investment. It's
Yeah.
about $15
Okay.
at a big box store.
Mhm.
You can probably find it at a Lowe's, you can find it at a landscape company, you can find it at Walmart.
And are those in the gardening section, or are we talking like a pet heating pad?
No, it's a gardening section.
Okay.
Not a pet heating pad.
Well, I know, those are the ones I'm familiar with. So
Yeah.
it's just,
Peppers really need a warm base, but the top of your refrigerator will do.
oh,
So it doesn't really need light at this point.
Mhm.
It needs warmth.
okay.
And in just a few hours, you will see that you could put it on the top of your aquarium if you have one. I don't. So It's either the refrigerator or heating pad.
So how long do you keep them up there?
Until they germinate. You'll see, and you may have to pull the wrap back to see that they're starting to get the little tail.
Uh,
And that's when they've germinated. That's when they need to go to light. And most seeds need a longer period of light than we have daylight at this point. So I did get, I switched to LED lights. I was using a fluorescent light on chains. But I like the LED lights better because they have them for regular lights, they have for germination, they have for growth. You know,
Do you
they're
need-
different colors.
Do you need special UV lights or is it just okay to have a light?
It's okay to have a light.
Okay.
If you've got a fluorescent light, you're good.
Okay.
This one is just easy. Again, it's not very expensive. It's, you know, $15 to $20. Again, I got mine at Walmart. You can buy them in various locations. I got them because I was thinking that my African violets needed more light. They didn't. So this became part of my seed starting things. So the first thing you want to do when you're doing this is how you use a seed starting kit. And this works really well. We're going to leave you with material that, you know, nobody is going to want the big ones, but you can break them down. You can use, these are takeout containers. If you don't have the top, you just use your cling wrap. And you only need that for a short period of time. But your seed packets will tell you pretty much everything that you need to know. It tells you days to germinate. In this case, I'm going to read from the broccoli because that will be more relevant. 10 to 14 days. And you plant a ½ inch deep. And that's assuming that we were using a potting mix like this. It tells you how to space it out when you take this out to plant it in the garden. 3 feet, 2 to 3 feet, and 90 days to harvest. So, you know, it has planting instructions. Start seeds indoors 6 to 8 weeks before the last frost. And so one of the guides that we have for you will tell you, it says 4 to 6 weeks here, 2 weeks before the last. So here it says you start them March 6th to 20th. But you could
Still
start,
close enough, yeah.
you could start them, you know,
Yeah,
stretch it out. And so that's one of the guides that we have for you.
and we'll post those files with the
Yes.
video.
Yes, and we talked about growing medium. You don't want to use garden soil. You want to use either a potting mix, or you can do a growing mix. And I believe we provided you with how to make your own.
Oh, okay.
So another thing, you can use any kind of container or tray. So here's some of the things that, you know, I say. You always want to poke holes in the bottom
Okay,
and then use the same techniques that Joel did with the cold stratification. Fill it up to so far. I wouldn't use this container top because it seals pretty well. I would use the cling wrap.
okay. So did you poke holes in the bottom of this?
No,
So that's okay.
it's okay.
Okay,
Because you're going to watch it, and until it gets to be about this tall, you're just going to keep adding water into the bottom.
Okay.
You can spray it when it has some growth on it. But you won't transplant it until it has its second set of leaves.
okay.
It's true leaves.
So a question I've always wondered with using these packets is when you plant these, do you put the pod directly in or do you remove and loosen up the dirt around the roots?
I put the pod directly in.
Yeah.
For this one that was growing, it's about 3 inches tall. I put soil in the bottom. I poke a hole in the bottom. I put soil in it. I don't want to plant it any deeper than it currently is. So then I fill more potting soil gently around the plant.
Okay,
So it, can continue to grow. I still will provide light to the plants that I have in my home, to make sure that it gets a good start. One of the things that helps plants grow stronger is if they have a little motion from a fan. So once they get to be about this height, if you have a tiny fan, just add that. So I don't know how that makes it mature and strong, but I suppose it does, it just keeps growing that way. You'll need a supplementary light unless you have a really good window, and you'll want to constantly turn it so it doesn't reach too far one way. So in my case, I have a west window. During the day, I do that, and I might turn them 2 or 3 times. I'm like, oh, they need to be turned, and then when the sun goes down, I'll add the grow lights and, for 2 to 4 more hours. Plants when they're small need 12 to 16 hours of sunlight, which we don't have yet. And we have rainy days where there's no sunlight. So that's something to think about. You either water from the bottom. Now, in this case, I just gently pour onto the side, but here I pour into the bottom until they reach a certain height, or you mist. And that will take care of that. We talked about temperature. Most seeds germinate between 60 and 80 degrees, which is why we use a heat mat or the top of your refrigerator. Peppers especially benefit from warmer soil. After 2 true leaves emerge, you can begin to fertilize once a week, diluted, very diluted, otherwise you'll burn your plants. And then when you're ready to put the plants outside after it'll be mid-May, after the last frost, you'll want to introduce them to the outside, but not the sun. So in my particular case, I put them on the north side of our house, which is protected from the wind. And I set them out for 2 to 3 hours. It's like a little vacation for them. There's more movement in the air, it makes them stronger, and each day they get a little bit more time out. So after they've had a week of that, then I move them into the sun to give them a little bit of sun, and then extend that sunlight every day off, but keeping them watered before you plant them outside, and that will make a big difference. So that's really the basics, the very basics. And then we have lots of guides to help you with companion planting. I have to look and see what else we brought. Seed longevity charts. Some seeds will last up to 5 years. So if you're keeping your seeds and they're purchased, there is a sell-by date on them. But if you're gathering your own seeds, you want to make sure that you mark when you collected that seed so that you can always test your germination rate by using a wet paper towel, not dripping wet, just damp, and then put 10 seeds on it. Fold the paper towel over it and put it in a warm location, top of your refrigerator. Let it set for a week. Check it to see how many seeds germinated. If you had 6 germinate, you had 60% germination. So that means you'll probably want to double up on your planting so that you get a good growth rate. So that's how that works.
I did that last year, actually, testing our prior seed library, and found that none of them did. So we needed new seeds. So we appreciate the contributions.
I'll give you a few gardening facts. Gardening is the #1 hobby in America, and it's growing due to millennials. Millennials are born between 1981 and 1996. The economic impact of gardening, any guesses? $102 billion.
Wow.
Globally, the typical gardeners are nearly 80% have some college or have graduated. 68% are 45 years or older. 54% are women. Now, those numbers of who and when are contradictory, but these are just numbers that I found. During the pandemic, 18.3 million more people joined the gardening group.
Mhm.
And sales of online gardening groups more than doubled during the pandemic. We had done a seed share for a good number of years, I want to say almost 5 years. And so in 2020, we were still able to get seeds from proprietary seed companies for 2020 and 2021. In 2022, when I wrote to see if we could extend the partnership, they said, we're sorry. Everyone wrote back and said, we're sorry, we're only donating to community gardens.
Mhm.
And it's hard to be upset with that because they're
Yeah.
feeding people.
Yeah.
And that's really what we are all about. Let's see, an average garden, and they didn't give me a size, spends, yields about $600 worth of produce a year.
I believe that.
Not bad.
So
Especially if he has fresh tomatoes all the time.
Oh,
I
yeah.
know, I love fresh tomatoes and veggies. Gardening trends are for a Mediterranean garden, which is, natural, outdoor, sunny, fast draining soils. Micro homesteading is becoming popular for sustainable gardening. A food forest, where you have seeds and berries of diverse edible plants. And minimalistic is also popular, where you're, getting things in contained spaces. So container gardening is popular. A lot of people enjoy gardening because it allows them to connect with nature and their well-being. So that's what we've learned. So that's all I have for you.
Excellent. If somebody wants to be more involved in a gardening group in our area, what would you recommend? Is there a good place for people to get connected?
I would suggest that maybe consider taking master gardening classes, but I don't know of individual gardening groups unless
Okay.
there's a community gardening in your community. And
I think we do have a community garden out.
at the pantry.
Well, there's one there, but I think there's one on the east side as well.
That's good. Yeah,
It fills up very fast from what I understand.
yeah. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. It's a city plot.
I think so.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But that's a good way to get gardeners together.
Mhm.
You